Hey guys, it's Scott from Horse Race. Now, this is going to come out my initial top five contenders for 2024 Kentucky Derby. This will be the first of a weekly series from here on up to the big race. And I'm going to do my initial rankings and we'll get right on into it. And coming at number five is going to be Forever Young. And he's the winner of the Saudi Derby. He beat Bookham Dano in that race. Remember, Bookham Dano was like a 12th winner of the Pasco Stakes. And I think that race was, a mile, but I think Forever Young probably wants to go a bit further, probably a mile and a quarter. I would say he wants to go that distance more than probably Bookham Dano does, and it took every bit of the stretch to be able to pull off that win. But I'm kind of banking on Forever Young being able to get better as the distance goes, and he's the even money favorite in the Saudi Derby. Uh, Certainly, the UAE Derby is going to be what really determines if the horse is going to stay in my top five or not. If he doesn't win the UAE Derby, he's probably going to drop out. If he does, I see his horse, potentially bumping up two or three, depending on how the performance is. And I think it's going to take a couple of things for Forever Young to win the Kentucky Derby. And I think first, I'm going to take a weak American crop of horses, which I kind of feel like this is not the strongest, but that'll play out soon in this last round of preps. And I think it's going to take a good Japanese horse. They're starting to steal these races and starting to do better, and going up against American horse. They won their share of stakes races and other things. I think it's only a matter of time before they, wind up winning the Kentucky Derby. And that could certainly happen this year. So for that reason, I'm going to put Forever Young at number five, and we'll see how it goes with the UAE Derby and all that, and we'll go from there. But coming at number four is going to be Fierceness, and this is probably the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of any of these horses. Is he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, looked really good doing it. He does lack consistency from race to race. In the Champagne, he fired a really bad effort, and then in the Holy Bull, he fired a bad effort. And I know Pletcher said he had an excuse in that race, but I'm sorry if you're, the cream of the crop for 3 year olds. With just that little bit of trouble in the Holy Bull, you still be able to beat that field. That was not one of the best or deepest fields, of all these prep races. And the Kentucky Derby can get a lot of trouble as you get bumped at the gate. Like I still remember the Derby where Albert Warcry bumped over and essentially took out half the field. And if you're telling me the trouble he got in the Holy Bowl kept from winning against that field, what's he going to do in the Derby when there's a real good chance of trouble in that? So he's got to get better on that, or he's got to get back to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, I think, to be able to have a chance. But certainly off that effort and what he's capable of on his best day, definitely one that you don't want to leave off. And right now, you probably get good value on him, as a lot of people are kind of off of him after the Holy Bowl effort. And I'm willing to bet in the Florida Derby, you're going to get more of probably a first or second place finish. And, that being said, his odds for the Derby are going to go down to, probably 4 or 5 to 1 if I had to guess. But nonetheless, for right now, Fierceness is going to come in at number four. And coming at number three is Catching Freedom. And I think Brad Cox is a trainer to watch for, on the Derby Trail. He was the winner of the Smarty Jones. Historically, the Smarty Jones has not really done good when it comes to other Derby preps, but the distance of Smarty Jones got moved from a mile to a mile and 16. So definitely, I know it's just a mile and 16 change, but also changes trainers and, how they view their horses. And, they might decide the extra 16 of a mile, they want to put a horse here instead of, something else. So definitely something that, just that little change of a distance could change horses' patterns and how the trainers want to get them ready for the Derby. And, this horse going to come from off the pace a little bit. And I think he might benefit, from even better pace setups. I thought the Risen Star was not the fastest pace in the world. Definitely benefited Track Phantom in that race. And, that being said, I think Catching Freedom is one that deserves to, stay on the list for now. And I'm going to put him at number three, and we'll see what happens from here on out. Uh, Coming at number two is Mystic Dan. And I think we can all agree that probably the visually most impressive prep so far was, Mystic Dan's effort in the Southwest. And that was, let's say if you took a Baffert horse that ran that, Mystic Dan was a Baffert horse, he just fired off that effort with the same, visual effect, then you'd be saying Mystic Dan would be the Derby winner. He'd be, bet down to 2 to 1, 3 to 1. But the problem is, Kenny McPeak, is a good trainer, but I feel like when it comes to Derby horse, he doesn't get that same level of respect like a Baffert or a Pletcher or a Brad Cox or, those. I feel like he's just a cut below when it comes to that level of respect. And Mystic Dan kind of fired that effort out of nowhere when you think about it. So he wasn't exactly, he in the Southwest went off at double digit odds. So obviously, there wasn't a ton of money going on. But definitely, I didn't think he was going to fire that. But, you have to give credit for the horse doing what he did in the Southwest. And, he won. And if he does that in the Arkansas Derby or anything close to that, he's going to go off as favorite for the Kentucky Derby. Or you could have a scenario even pop up where, let's say the Arkansas Derby or, wherever they, decide to put him at is on a, dry track. And let's say it gets back to the other effort and, come Derby and Preakness, there's always a high chance for a muddy track. Seems like it's a 50% chance every year. And if he goes there, it's right back on the slop. And if he fires at Southwest effort on the slop, he might get double digit odds and, look really smart winning the Derby. So definitely one, I can't say number one, but, I do got to give credit for that one and say that's been the visually most impressive prep so far that I've seen. And, coming at number one is going to be Sierra Leone. And he's the winner of the Risen Star, trained by Chad Brown, who got second with good magic in the Derby. Remember Normandy Invasion ran really good. I think he got fourth that year. Practical Joke was essentially a sprinter. He ran him all at the fifth. So I think it's only a matter of time before Chad Brown gets one of these. Also got third with Zanin a couple years ago. So I kind of feel like Sierra Leone reminds me of Zanin just a little bit in the same similar run style. And I feel like Sierra Leone's going to improve off the Rhythm Star efforts. You see Chad Brown's pattern of the Derby is always the first effort 3-year-old season, not the best. And then by the time you get that 100-point prep, he's firing on all cylinders. Think Practical Joke second in the Bluegrass, highly motivated. Zandon winning the Bluegrass. Uh, it's going to be a better effort. And if this is his, floor effort right here, winning the Risen Star, like, the sky's the limit for Sierra Leone. If he can improve off that, improve again on the Derby, like he might be looking at your number one horse easy right here. And definitely one, if I had to pick one horse out of all these that I feel you could essentially create your trifecta, superfectas around for the Derby, it'd be Sierra Leone. I feel like he's the most likely to finish in the money. And, that really helps you have a horse that you think can be there when it comes to structuring your tickets to give you something to build around. And that's kind of where I'm at with Sierra Leone. But, this is my initial top five. And it seems like with this year's Derby, all it takes is, one weekend and things could change. Like somebody come out of nowhere in the Tampa Derby and all of a sudden they make top five. I don't think so, but it could happen. And, these 100-point preps, we'll see where it goes. But, right now it's my top five. And thanks for watching. Plenty more.